Hi, we're
It's
back.
part two, I guess.
It's part two of our interview portion with our short interview with Mr. Atienza. And now we're going to talk about Socrates.
Ha.
And Mr. Atienza is excited to
Well,
explain to us the common line of Socrates. And it says that.
well, no, I mean, Socrates said a lot about everything. The Greeks.
Mhm.
When you look at like the philosophy of the Greeks, it wasn't really like philosophy, or when you look at all of the disciplines of
Mm.
the Greeks, um, they clumped everything together.
Mm.
Like this is something that I talk about in disciplines and ideas in the
Okay.
social sciences.
Mm.
When we talk about the history of the social
Mhm.
sciences, it's called disciplinization. So, like
Oh.
at the end of like the 20th century, the 19th, 20th century, there was this disciplinization. So all of a sudden, you had psychology, you had
When.
sociology, and they were all separate and distinct
Mhm.
disciplines within the social sciences, owing to the, I like to call it the explosion of ideas,
Mhm.
right? So you had um, way too many philosophers with all
Oh.
of these very specific ideas, as well, very
Differing. That's why they
yeah, yeah,
compartmentalize
they
it.
compartmentalize themselves. Very, I think postmodern in that way,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and very specific, right?
Mm.
Not only do you have a discipline that
Mm.
is psychology, but like there are various approaches within psychology. So you have a feminist approach, you have a Marxist approach, you have
Yeah,
a Freudian approach, right?
I remember that.
But
Oh my
then
god.
that's a fairly recent phenomenon insofar
Mm-hmm.
as the history of ideas goes. Like right at the very beginning, we always begin with the Greeks.
Mm.
And the thing with the Greeks was they were very they had this tendency to view things as a whole, or kind of
Do
uh,
they tend to generalize things
well, it's more of
or vague?
Greek philosophers wrote about everything,
Okay.
right? So if you look at the work of like Aristotle, for example,
Mm-hmm.
everything from political science to metaphysics
Mm.
to physics, he wrote about well everything. Um, like the term metaphysics actually is
Metaphysics.
metaphysics because well it's supposed to be beyond the physical. Right? You talk
Yeah.
about your essence,
Mm-hmm.
but then it is also in his fat book. Metaphysics appears in the chapter after his chapter on physics.
Oh,
So it
so it
is.
started with physics,
It says
the
physics.
physical observation.
Yeah, and then he goes into the chapter on metaphysics,
Yeah.
which I think literally
Went
translates to
beyond. Yeah.
beyond physics.
Yeah.
And so the question is, did he say metaphysics because we are talking about like that realm which is beyond the physical world, so metaphysics, or is it the chapter that appears after or beyond the chapter on physics? Or it
It's
could be,
confusing.
or it could be both. It could just be like a joke, man. Oh,
Yeah.
man, it's after physics, I'll call it metaphysics.
So now let's talk about
So, but then like,
Socrates.
but then
Socrates for this
earlier,
talk.
but then
Yeah.
earlier, kasi we
Oh.
listened to the experts,
Uh
right?
huh.
And I just wanted to say that I feel kind of uncomfortable calling myself an expert on anything, really,
Knowledgeable.
perhaps
Okay.
because there's this idea of Socratic irony,
Mm-hmm.
which says, and his idea is that there is one thing that I know, and that is I know nothing,
I know
or
nothing.
all I know is that I don't know. If you want
Yeah.
to,
What
if you
does
want
it
a
mean?
chance to know about it.
What's the wisdom behind that?
In acknowledging
Mm-hmm.
well the way that I've always read it was it is the beginning of knowledge.
It's the
The
beginning
beginning
of
of knowledge
knowledge.
is knowing that you don't know anything.
Does it
This
mean that
knowledge,
you start empty?
in a way, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so we're gonna get into like a behaviorist
Yeah.
constructivist discussion here,
Yeah.
diba? But
Yeah.
then it is. I always read it as being about critical thinking in
Mm-hmm.
a way. Like I don't like I know that what I know might be wrong, or
Yes.
I know that what I know
So you
is
tend to
wrong.
question
Yeah,
many
yeah,
times.
yeah. And in the context of one was one was it felt really good. In the context of ancient Greek philosophy,
Uh huh.
um, Well, it was a very non kanang as a society they weren't very metacognitive. Right? They didn't.
They're not thinking of their
Yeah, they
thinking.
weren't thinking about their own thought. They
Okay.
were just sort of,
Uh-huh.
and I think that's why a lot of in a lot of ways we would consider Sina Plato or Sina Socrates the first like actual philosophers because
Yeah.
they made a big deal about metacognition,
Mm-hmm.
and so there and and that was I think um, one of the things that really kicked it all off, right? By saying
Yeah.
that think about your thought, you know that you don't know, and that is where it begins.
Yeah, it's also acknowledging that no one has the monopoly of knowledge, and knowledge is never fixed. I mean, we may be learning so many things in the past, but it may not be applicable right now or in the future. So we may be learning something, but it may not be useful in the future or right now, and we unlearn and we learn again,
Yeah,
right? So we keep
yeah.
on unloading, unloading, and then we keep on loading new stuffs. That's just like technology, right? So
So we're
one
gonna get
thing,
into technology now.
yeah,
Hey.
just like that. We will go to technology in the next part of this series of talks. But anyway, so what can you final message to our audience about Socrates, the wisdom behind Socrates' line of there's one thing I know and that I know nothing. So just one final message.
Don't drink hemlock.
Again?
Don't drink hemlock. That's how he died. Right?
Okay.
He died because he was executed. And
Okay. Don't drink hemlock. Okay. So let's just keep on learning, relearning, and unlearning, and we never stop learning as long as we're alive. Okay? So bye for now. That's it for this second part of our interview with Mr. Atienza. Thank you. Bye bye.